And good evening and welcome to the Coach Mark Schmidt Show. Gary Neese with the coach. As for the next half hour, we talk St. Bonaventure basketball. We're going to cover a couple of games that have been played, and we're going to look ahead to the final segment of the non-conference schedule. Hard to believe that we're already 10 games into the season.
It's good to be 10 games into the season.
Right now it might be, but again, just amazing how quick time will go when you get into the season.
Yeah, no question. It's the preseason sometimes gets long, but once you get into the season, it's every 2 or 3 days you're preparing for another game, and then when that game's over, it's you turn the page, and I told someone it's like having a trial. You win one trial and you prepare for the next one, and it goes really. Once the season starts, it goes really, really quick.
All right, let's look back a little bit on the season. We've had 4 games since the last show. The one that we had was Middle Tennessee. That was coming off a tough game, and Middle Tennessee, the Notre Dame game was a great win.
Yeah.
But still, going down there, coming back, and Middle Tennessee's waiting for you when you get here. They had a 3 games in 3-day tournament up in Canada, and they decided instead of flying home, let's bus to Olean and spend 3 or 4 days in Olean. So,
they did. They were here before we were here.
Yeah.
But they had won the tournament in Montreal, and
right.
We knew it was a game that we played down there 3 years ago, I think, or maybe even 4 years ago.
Actually, if I remember right, it was your 300th career win down there.
See that? I didn't know that, but thank you. But we had a great game down there, and won at the buzzer. But we knew they were really good and long, athletic, and I'm watching tape of them playing against the teams that they beat up there. We knew it was going to be a tough game, and coming off of Notre Dame, which is a big win for us. That high, and sometimes with a young team, you feel like I've made it. I don't need to work hard, and it was a wake-up call. That first half, those guys came after us, really long, athletic. They get into passing lanes. We were lucky to be down by 6 at halftime, but we were fighting. And in the second half, I thought we couldn't have played better. We defended. We kept them out of the paint. Did a better job on the backboard, even though I think they outscored us by 20 in the paint. We did a much better job in the second half. We got to the foul line. I think we outscored them by 20 from the foul line. Kyrell played really well, got the ball in the paint, made some shots at the end. But we finished the game well. But I was really proud of in halftime you're sitting there going, we got to be able to keep these guys in front. They're really athletic, and our guys responded. I thought we played much better, much harder in the second half with much more energy and commitment. And it was a great win. Middle Tennessee State is going to, they may win the league, but if not, they're going to be right up there. They're as good as a lot of teams in the Atlantic 10.
Yeah, and again, the constant pressure that they put on the team, it's actually gave your team a little bit of what they were going to see in coming games, because you've had 3 or 4 games in a row now where their defense has been high pressure and aggressive, and they almost dare the officials to call the fouls. Yeah,
they foul so many times that the referees get tired of calling it. But they're very similar to VCU. They don't full court press as much, even though they were, that 1-2-2 gave us a little bit of problems with their length. But they're, switching all screens, switching 1 through 5, and it's hard sometimes to be able to simulate that in practice, especially their length and their athleticism. So it takes a little bit of time to get used to it during the game. And I thought as the game went along, we played much better. We were able to execute a little bit better. But that's a heck of a team, and that was a really good win for us.
Yeah, and again, a full team effort. You mentioned everybody coming on, but again, the outside shooting was there for you. You got a couple of threes, and when you finally got the lead, you really had a good run to start the second half. Got that, took care of that 6-point lead and got your own lead, and then were able to hang on to it.
That was a huge key coming out. I always say the last 4 or 5 minutes of the first half and in the first 4 or 5 minutes of the second half, those are critical times in the game. And I thought we came out and we got a basket for Chad inside. And we got a steal down the other end, and I think we hit a 3. But yeah, those first 4 or 5 minutes are really critical. And I thought we ended the first half. We got to stop at the end of the first half. And I thought the second half we came out with some energy. We executed the first play, and then went on from there. And I think we made in the last 11, 12 foul shots.
Yes.
So it's that's how you have to close out the game. And for a young team that we have, I thought, for them to be able to handle the adversity and be able to fight back and win, by whatever double digits, I thought was a huge key for us.
All right, you have a 4-game winning streak, and then it's off to Buffalo, rivalry game, Big Four with UB, and the game was just that you didn't seem to have that spark in that ball game.
Yeah, something that's interesting. We haven't been playing great away. We didn't play well at Canisius. We didn't play at South Dakota State. It's different playing, as you know, it's different on the road. It's like, the game starts you 10-0 down, and you got to play that much better. You got to play with defense. You got to play with energy. And I thought our guys, we didn't get off to a great start. Our energy level wasn't down. We weren't executing. And give Buffalo credit. They came after us. And it was back and forth. And, I thought we were down by a few at halftime, but I thought it was critical that we went into halftime, and we were in decent shape, even though we didn't play well. But we came, second half we did okay for a while, and then they made a run and we couldn't answer it. They did a good job of getting the ball into the paint. We had a hard time keeping them in front. And then offensively, we didn't get to the foul line. We missed foul shots, and, give them credit. They played well, and we didn't play, nearly well enough.
All right, and you had this is kind of another learning experience with that offense that UB played. They got the ball and they went right for the basket. They used a high screen out front and they just drove the basket.
Yeah, they just they open up the nail. They get a guy, they slide him through, and that opens up another piece of the floor. And we didn't do a good job of keeping the ball on the side, and. The kid scored 33 or whatever he scored against us. We couldn't keep him in front, and then the other guard, I think went 12 for 12 from the foul line. Mm-hmm. We just didn't play well. Chad got in foul trouble, and we're not going to win when Chad gets 0 points.
Right.
And that's we just didn't play well, and it's part of growing up and learning how to win, especially on the road, and hopefully we learn something from that.
All right, you get a chance to come back the next game. Cleveland State comes in. Another team similar to UB where their guards are taken off of the basket as soon as they get the ball. They're on the dead run. And, again, this time a much better job of defending a team. Yeah,
they're very similar to UB, very similar to Middle Tennessee, probably not as athletic as Middle Tennessee, but the same, get up into your full court defensively, really foul you, be really aggressive, deny stuff. And I thought we got off to a great start. We challenged the guys after the UB game. I thought UB played harder than we did. And I thought our guys really answered the bell. The challenge that we as coaches put on them, that, you got to get off to a great start. Cleveland State, they had won 6 in a row.
Right.
In every game, you watch the tape, they get up by 10, 15 points in the first 5 to 6 minutes. And it was imperative, as I said earlier, it's important to finish the half and start the second half really important and really well. But I thought against Cleveland State we have to get off to a good start, and I thought we did. We defended, we rebounded, we knocked down some shots, we executed, and it was a really good victory for us. To beat that team, with them winning 6 straight, said a lot about our guys in terms of getting back into, learning how to win again. And it's easier at home, as we talked about, but bouncing back from a disappointment, I thought showed that our guys had some character and some competitiveness.
Yeah, and again, the defense came through. That was, as you mentioned after the game on the post-game show, that was your best defensive effort.
It was
overall.
Yeah, for 40 minutes. I thought we guarded the ball well. We kept them out of the paint. We did a great job on the three-point line. I think they made 1 or 2, 1 for 13 maybe. But I thought, and they were good. They have good guards. They had a good big guy, and I just thought that we accepted the challenge, and we bounced back from a disappointment and played well. And so it showed me that we have some competitiveness, and sometimes when you lose, you can get down and disappointed and feel sorry for yourselves, but. The great thing about college basketball, every 2 or 3 days you play again, and so you have a chance to bounce back, and I thought our guys really did a good job.
All right, that leaves us with Iona down there at the Hall of Fame Invitational. You were the first of 4 games, and early morning start, 11:30 starting time. So I'm sure that everybody was up kind of early getting breakfast and last-minute conversations.
Yeah, you know how it is when you get old. You know, 6 o'clock in the morning is not early. You know, but when you're 18, 19, 6 o'clock is like, you want to sleep until 6 o'clock at night. But we make no excuses. I thought, we knew Iona. They had beaten St. Louis, which is picked to win our league by 22, and they dominated them. And so I knew it was going to be a tough game. And they got good size, really good guards, high major guards. They got high major players.
Right.
But I thought our guys. We got off to a shaky start. We turned the ball over a couple of times and made some errors with some of our rotations. But I really thought that. At halftime we were down 32-28, and we didn't play great, but we made enough plays, and we turned them all over. I think we had 13 steals, I think 6 or 7 at halftime. So we were sitting in the locker room thinking, like, all right, we didn't play great, but we're there. We're there. 13, the big kid inside dominated. I think he had 16 points at halftime. But I thought we turned the ball over too many times, but I still thought we had a legitimate chance. And I thought in the second half, with 7 minutes left, we're up 54-53. We had the ball, and we didn't play great. We were still turning the ball over. But we did a good job, I thought, on the 2 guards. And those are the 2 knowns. They're really talented, and I thought we did a good job. We just got hurt with the big guy inside. And then with 7 minutes left, we're up 54-53 with the ball. We turn it over, and then they go on a 19-3 run. And we didn't, as a young team, we didn't answer the way we needed to answer. I think we panicked a little bit. Their pressure got to us. We tried to make 8-point plays, rather than getting down and breaking the press and trying to execute. We didn't handle that adversity well. But Iona's going to win their league, and they got a Hall of Fame coach, and they're a really good team. And for us to be up by 1 with 7 minutes left, says a lot about our guys. We got to learn how to finish and how to handle adversity, especially on the road. When we turn the ball over, we got to move on. We can't allow that play to affect the next play. And I thought that we did that a little bit.
All right, so 6-4 on the season as we get ready for the game on Friday night. We'll come back. We're going to talk about the final 3 games of the non-conference schedule coming up. You're listening to the Coach Mark Schmidt Show on 95.7 The Big Pig. And we're back on the Coach Mark Schmidt Show. It is brought to you by 4 Mile Brewing in Olean. And once again, they've got some holiday things going on at 4 Mile. Make sure you make a stop. And, of course, also is good for a little post-game party. So hopefully... when
we go there, post-game party, that means we won.
That's right.
So it's always good.
That's where we're trying some wishful thinking
exactly
here for Friday
right.
night.
Exactly
Let's talk about, so far this season, as I said, we've only got 3 non-conference games left. 10 games under your belt so far with this team. Where do you think the team is right now? Obviously, you're not near where you want it.
No. We have such a young team, and we're still nowhere near where we need to be. Sometimes some practices we look better, some games we look better than other games. I thought we took a couple of steps forward, and then we would take a step back. It's like we took a step forward when we beat Middle Tennessee State. Then we go to Buffalo and not play well. And then we come back and we play Cleveland State, and it's like we look like we're a team again. And then we go to Iona and turn the ball over 21 times. So we got a long way to go. I think our guys are learning, the system. They're not all there yet. And as you know, it takes 5 guys working in concert. If you have one guy that's not doing it, just screws up everything. And we still have guys that are unsure, both from the offensive and defensive end. But I think they're learning. I think we're playing hard. We're not playing hard consistently. We take some plays off, and those plays hurt us. But 6-4 is not bad. I wish we were 10-0. I think everybody else wants us to be 10-0. But I think we're improving. our young guys are gaining experience, and we played a tough non-conference schedule. It hasn't been easy, and so hopefully, we have 3 more games left, but hopefully it prepares us for the rigors of the Atlantic 10, and I think it will.
All right, you've got 3 pretty tough games coming up here, starting with Florida Gulf Coast. Now, all they did on the season is fly out to Southern California and beat a Power 5 team on the first night.
Exactly. They're talented. Coach Chambers is a former coach at Penn State. And he knows what he's doing, and they got some transfers. That the point guard is transferred from Purdue, and they got good players. They run a good system. They really push the ball. They're 8-3. They're a talented team. They got some high major guys, and in today's world, it's like you never know what teams have until September. And you look like, man, he's got that guy, and like, where did he get that guy from? And it's just how it is today. And but they're talented. They got a good big guy inside. They got really good guards. They really push the ball on offense. They get into you on defense. They're well coached, and they got a lot of talent. So we have to play well in order for us to get a victory for sure.
And one of the things that kind of, when he jumps out at you on the stats, they love the 3 shot.
Yeah, they do.
The 3 ball.
Yeah, they're really guard-oriented. They're 4-man, 6'7", 210 pounds. He's probably their best player. But he's a 4-man that faces up, takes you off the bounce. But they're guards. They're quick. They run a lot of ball screen stuff and trying to get into the paint, driving and kicking. But, yeah, they shoot a lot of threes. They get a lot of stuff in transition. So it's really critical for us to – run good offense, not turn the ball over, to give them opportunities in the open court, and then be able to sit down and guard that ball screen and keep them out of the paint, and try to get. We're best when we get offense off of our defense. We're not the best half-court offensive team right now, but hopefully that will get better. But right now, we need to do a better job on the defensive end, getting deflections, forcing bad shots, so we can get the ball out and go and get numbers.
And that's something that we have actually seen this team be good at, is because of your length this year.
Yeah.
It's something you haven't had in the past. You've got some long arms out there and some very quick hands, and you've been able to make a lot of plays defensively.
We had 13 steals against Iona. The problem was we only had 17 points off of those turnovers. We're not doing a good job of cashing in off of those turnovers, and we got to do a better job. Some of them, it's you get a steal and the ball bounces and and the defense gets back, but we got to do a better job of getting our offense off of some of our opponent's mistakes. And if you turn 13 steals, we should have. That's a total. You have 48 total points if you hit 16 threes.
Right.
But we got to do a better job of just making better decisions in the open court, attacking when we have numbers, and then pulling it out, and when we don't, and run good offense. And we got to do a better job of that.
And again, decision making, it's on the fly. You're trying to get down the floor, try to beat these guys down the floor. Sometimes it's best to just hang back and maybe wait for some help.
It's the whole thing, when to hold them, when to fold them. And for a young team, it's hard to teach them when to go and when to pull back. We made some good decisions against Iona. We've made some good decisions this year, but we've made some decisions where like, what are we doing? It's like when you have numbers, you go, but if it's 3-on-3 or 3-on-4, you pull it back and run some offense. And sometimes our guys get excited and they don't recognize that we're outnumbered, and we got to do a better job in those areas.
All right. After that, you've got the final 2 games on the road in the non-conference. A Monday night game, a quick turnaround this weekend. You play Friday night, and you have to play Monday night in Albany against Iona, a very, very good team that has some success early in the season. Yeah,
they're well coached and athletic kids. They got a big kid inside, and I know they've won some good games, but it's the Franciscan Cup. It's all that stuff. I remember when I think we won the first game, and they brought the trophy out, and it was bigger than Sister Margaret.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow. So I don't even know where that is. Did Siena win? Did we win last time?
I think you won last time. Yeah.
Right.
So it's somewhere in the building.
Yeah, it's not in a trophy case.
So it might be in the Friary.
Yeah, maybe. But they're a good team, and we got a quick turnaround. We'll practice Saturday, practice Sunday, go up there, and then we have another turnaround. We go out to Northern Iowa to return that game from last year. Thank God Green's not playing on the team.
Yeah.
But I'm not even sure how they're doing. We try to go one game at a time. I know Green's not on the team, so thank goodness for that one. He killed us. Didn't he score 40?
Something pretty close to 40, I think, last year.
He was terrific. But yeah, we have 3 tough games in the Florida Gulf Coast here on Friday, and then at Siena and at Northern Iowa, and then we have a little bit of break for Christmas.
Yep, the holiday, and then you get back in time to start the A10. It's just hard to believe we're talking A10 already.
Yeah, it's amazing how we talked earlier how fast it goes, and the Atlantic 10 is starting I don't know 4 or 5 days earlier than in previous years because of Loyola. So yeah, we give them off the 23rd, 24th, and 25th to come back on the 26th, and we practice for 4 days to get ready for a really good UMass team.
All right, you got this game on Friday night. The students are gone. Finals will be over.
Yeah.
The community has done well.
They've done a really good job, and kudos to them. Over Thanksgiving, I'm not sure who we played, but yeah, the student section was packed with the community, and we'll need them for Friday night. They're always very supportive, and they make that student center. The student section is never ever as good as when the students are there, but the community does as good a job as they can.
Yeah, the students this year have been fantastic.
They've been terrific.
There were a couple of times, and you can see there's a few gaps. There might be a few spots missing, but that building is as loud as I think it was when they had 6,000 there.
Yeah, they've done a really good job. The students, the community, and I've been here 16 years, and it just amazes me on the night of the games where it's just electric in the Riley Center. There's no better place to play, and the students bring so much to it.
All right, we're going to take another break, and we'll come back, and we've got more coming up on the Coach Mark Schmidt Show, brought to you by 4 Mile Brewing, and it's live on 95.7 The Big Pig.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right, because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign, not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a 4th ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
And we're back on the Coach Mark Schmidt Show. Gary Neese with the coach, and as we said, we're getting close to the Atlantic 10. Let's take a look briefly at how the A10 is doing this year. There's been, I think, an increase in competition. Looks like they're playing a lot of high Power 5 schools this year. The records don't look all that great. Fordham has done a great job out of the box, and so has UMass. And UMass is going to be our first opponent when they come into the Riley Center on New Year's Eve. But what do you think so far?
It's like Dayton was picked 1 or 2, and they have their whole team back, but they got a bunch of injuries.
Yeah.
Their point guard, the 2 guard have been out, and they may be out for a while. So, and they play, Dayton, St. Louis, VCU. They play a high major schedule. And then you look like at a Fordham, and Fordham's like 10-1, but they don't play the schedule that these other guys. I think Fordham's played 9 or 10 home games. And same thing with Duquesne. Duquesne's got off to a good start, but most of their games are at home. They have money for buy games and so forth, much more than we have. But the league is going to be, at times I think the league has struggled, especially when your marquee teams like St. Louis and Dayton and VCU have struggled a little bit. But excuse me, even though they've struggled, they're really good teams, and when we get into the conference. Anybody can beat anybody, and you look at Fordham. They probably will go into the league with the most wins. Going to Rose Hill, it's hard. It's thank God we don't have to go there this year. But then Loyola's struggled, and they're new in our conference, and it's a great get for the Atlantic 10 to have Loyola be a member of the Atlantic 10. Getting Chicago in our area is really good, but they've struggled a little bit. But and you just never know. Some guys are young. You got the portal you're dealing with. You got some injuries. But when the Atlantic 10 starts, it's, as you talked about, UMass is playing really well. They won a Thanksgiving Day tournament against high major teams. Coach Martin knows what he's doing. So that's our first test on the 30th. But it's going to be, I don't think the winner, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the preseason pick hasn't won the regular season in I don't know how many years. They're always wrong. So we're picked 10th, and hopefully we can do better than that. But it's going to be a challenge, just like it is every year. The team that gets the breaks, the team that stays healthy, and the intensity. When we start conference play, I always tell the team that the intensity level goes up a whole another notch. It's not the Atlantic 10 is no different than any other league. It's the non-conference is you try to work all the kinks out. The conference is when it really matters. So that's we got 3 more games to prepare for the UMass game, and hopefully we can finish the non-conference season on a high note and go in with some momentum. But it's going to be whatever it is, 17 hard games.
Yeah, and the one thing we talk about in the non-conference, you've got your traditional games. You've got the Canisius, and you've got UB, and you've got Siena, and those those are fun for the fans. The real rivalries start January 1st.
Yeah, it's almost like the Atlantic 10. It's like Canisius and Siena, and that's really good for especially Canisius and for the older alums. It's like being in the Atlantic 10. The Atlantic 10 is what most people look at, and it's like that they get excited when the VCU shows up or the Dayton shows up or St. Louis comes into the Raleigh Center. Those are the big games. Not that those other games aren't important. They're really, really important. But the Atlantic 10, the conference is what we play for, and that's the most important time of the year.
All right, that's going to wrap up tonight's show. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. We'll talk about Florida Gulf Coast and the 2 games on the road, and we'll be ready for the Atlantic 10 on our next program. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time on the Coach Mark Schmidt Show.